youngsters looking at life more like golf, where you compete with yourself?
I think people are still very competitive, but they are only competitive about the things that are important to them.
Comparison. Mine is not competitive only, it's comparison.
Sorry. So yeah, I meant comparison. I think it's very much still there. I don't think, it's how much am I being paid? How much is that guy being paid? I got to work on these skills. That guy is working on just maintenance. I got to go on a project to Goa. He got to go to a project to Bhiwandi. So I think younger kids are definitely very competitive.
But there's a contradiction in that, Siddharth, that people are ready to break out and take different callings, whereas the staid work life that we had when we were younger was everybody rode in the same direction or went in the same direction. If everybody did IAS, you also tried to do, or everybody tried for IAS, you also tried to do that. Today, I think people are breaking out of the routines, no? They're breaking out of the fixed mindsets.
Yes, I agree with you that there are a lot more options available. So if you look at places, there are places where being a YouTuber is one of the top career choices. Being an influencer, so those types of things. But, I'm still comparing with other influencers. I'm still comparing with, I want to do sports management. Man, I got to meet Bhaichung Bhutia.
Difference is you compare, not your parents and your aunts and uncles. Whereas earlier it was your parents who would compare.
Frankly, I don't have kids, but my sense is the parents I know have not stopped comparing.
Okay. Interesting.
I mean, I leave it to others who have kids to respond to this one.
Yeah, I agree with you that, kids don't, I mean, at least my daughter, she's chosen a stream which is completely different from what a conventional stream would be. But at the same time, we as a parent are very anxious, and that anxiety at some stage, we do transfer it to our children, how much ever we want to shield it, right?
That's a very honest reply, and thank you for that.
Pleasure, sir.
I'll move on to the next question, and it's addressed to you, Vijay. Is productivity paranoia a cumulative outcome of low trust and ambiguous expectations of the managers?
Oh my God, that's a very complex question. Can you repeat that?
Is Sokya there? I can unmute you and you can ask the question yourself.
Oh, Sokya is part of my team. How come she asked such a complex question?
But maybe she could not ask you directly. So here it comes. I'll put it across for you again. Now I think it's important that you answer.
It's her day. Actually, she's exposing me big time.
Just repeat it, Supriya.
Yes. Is productivity paranoia a cumulative outcome of low trust and ambiguous expectations of the managers?
Wow.
Right. Okay, I think, sorry. I think I try to understand this question. Yes, in a way, yes, it is. In fact, I think the whole discussion today, we were having, right, the hybrid versus not a hybrid, why we want people to come to office versus what are the shift that managers need to do? What are the shift in terms of the managers learning, the leaders learning that needs to do? It's our own inefficiency which gets translated into a certain action. And I completely agree with her in this statement. And I think this is the safest way I can come out of this question.
I can extend the question to other panelists with your permission, Vaijayanti.
Are you? Yeah, of course. Please go ahead and ask to anyone.
Animesh or Siddharth, if you would like to answer this, address this, or shall we move on to the next one?
I'll give you my perspective for what it's worth. I think there is a very real issue between the employees and the managers. And it's a very real challenge. That challenge, the genesis of the challenge is because we've designed our workplaces and workflows in an era where you were required to be physically present and from the genesis of factories about 200 years ago, where you were part of a moving line, and you needed to do XYZ activities, and you needed to spend a certain amount of hours where you were physically and visually observed by a supervisor, manager, etc., that you were doing work. And if you look at the way our work is designed, and while there have been shifts and changes, it's largely remained the same. So when you don't have physical and oversight over an individual, that paranoia is going to be there. The way to solve for this is to redesign our workflows. It's to redesign the way we measure what we pay for. Are we paying for somebody to spend 8 or 9 hours at work? Or are we going to be paying people for delivering specific outcomes? And the more we are able to shift to that side, to the second side, that's going to be one way to solve that problem. The second way to solve that problem is actually using technology a lot more effectively, because technology allows you to measure both presence as well as productivity. And while you may not physically observe people, you can use technology to actually have a fairly good oversight on how much time people are spending doing work. If the work that you're doing is not exactly or not easily to convert into a very specific outcome measure. And I'll end with that this challenge for organizations and employees, and how do you ensure that people are doing what they are paid for, is a very real challenge to solve for.
I would give my 2 cents here. I would encourage, what's the name of the person who's asking the question, please, again?
Sokya.
Sokya. Sokya, you might want to refer to the work of a person called Victor Bloom, who in 2016 did something called a randomized controlled trial in a company called C-Trip, which employs 16,000 people in China. And he did this particular experiment with about 1,000 people, of which 500 volunteered, and of which he divided the groups into 250 and 250 to figure out whether work from home is going to increase productivity or it's going to decrease productivity. And it's a very interesting study where I think in a social psychology or a social science subject, the first time RCT has been used. It's normally used in pharmaceutical trials. So you might want to see it. We don't have the time to discuss the whole thing, but it's a very interesting piece of research.
Thank you. I'll move on to the next question. It's from Ananya. Is the role of HR and HR tech changing the boardroom priorities? I'll complete. She clubbed 2 questions. I'll just read it again. Is the role of HR and HR tech changing the boardroom priorities, making HR custodian of employee and organizational safety and well-being, while HR tech is the tool to navigate such complexity? So basically, I think a question is centered around, is the role of HR and HR tech changing the boardroom priorities?
That's for you, Vijay, I guess.
No, I want others to take it first.
But to be fair to the panelists, maybe we should sharpen the question around the new age employee mindset, which is the topic. Maybe the person asking the question might orient it a little differently so that, it doesn't sort of become a mental jujitsu.
Okay, so I think let's give that a pass and I'll move on to the next question. And interestingly, Vijay, it has been addressed to you again. So how important is
I think
physical fitness?
people are having
but
a
it's
field
not
day
from your team.
on me.
But it's not from your team for sure.
Okay, what's the question?
So, yes, that is something that you can easily answer now. So how important is physical fitness versus mental fitness for new employee mindset?
Wow,
So
I can
physical
answer this.
versus mental fitness.
Right. I can answer this in just one word. A great mind resides in a great body.
Absolutely.
Right. I'm sure this is said in different ways, but I would like to say it that way. So what I mean to say here is, I think the more you look after yourself, the more you look at, physical fitness is just not about going to a gym or working out at work, running 10 kilometers a day, right? I think there's a whole lot of things that you need to do to ensure that you can actually do that. Which I said earlier, right? You need to look after yourself so well. And which means you are prioritizing yourself first, which means that you can only give others what you have, which is essentially happiness, wisdom, intelligence, having an intelligent conversation around. All that you can actually give it to others if only you have it.
Right.
Hello all, this is Anita. Just to add on, I must say Vijay is a fitness freak, and I was just waiting, Vijay, as in where we can get those inputs from you. So good that that question came up and you could share some invites. This is Anita.
Hi, Anita, thanks.
Great. The next question, I think my internet is a bit unstable. Vijay, this is for you.
Okay.
How can Gen X create a policy for a millennial or a Gen Z when the choices they carry do not understand? So how can a Gen X create policy for millennials or Gen Z when they don't really understand the?
Okay, so in the question actually is an answer, basically, right? So, so let me respond this way, right? Policy, see, one of the things, and I can only respond to you from the perspective that I carry and from the place that I work. So it takes a lot of work actually for all of us in HR to figure out, whether our policy will land with the cohorts that we wish to reach out to in the right way. So it does mean, we need to increase. So we do make a conscious effort to increase employee connections, to know their mind. Because unless you know how your audience's mind is working, the policy that we craft will not land well. So I think the first thing is that, and I'm sure it's true for everybody, that we don't sit in a room and make a policy. First go out, get a lot of insights and data, and then try to craft a policy that impacts various cohorts of people. The other thing that I must tell you, right? I think today millennials are in middle management and therefore in a capacity to even influence some of these decisions. I think the challenge is, of course, the whole Gen Z workforce that is entering. But, organizations, families, we've all adapted to all these changes. So I think it's just about being able to reach out and understand the other side. And I think there is an equal amount of understanding that is expected from the other side as well. Because you see, in an organization, it's not everybody is not a millennial, everybody is not a Gen Z, everybody is not Gen X. There will be very, very few baby boomers anyways. So it is about a give and take, and I think the principle of reciprocity is fundamental to the human condition. And that's the principle on which we all operate and lead our lives. So to answer your question, of course they can, provided they have made an effort to really understand the mind and the preferences and the desire to make certain choices of their audiences. Bereft of that, of course, the policy will not land well. So when we design our talent management programs, we make sure that we are speaking to the audiences for whom we are creating. And, like I had asked in my earlier question also, that, somewhere this notion that you have to do X amount of vintage in a company, you have to have so many performance ratings, we're changing that today. Because we understand that we have to speak to the audience that we are addressing. So I don't know if it answered your question, but that's an effort we make. We'll not always land 100% of the time on target, but the endeavor is to keep getting better.
Okay.
Nice. I just wanted to add one thing. Yeah. Sorry.
No, please go ahead.
There's just, there's a lot of, I'm not going to claim, to understand Gen Z, but, there is a lot of detailed studies which say, what do men and women engineers between this group to this group, what do so I'm just saying there are a lot of very detailed studies being put out there by organizations like a Universum and others, which give us a sense of what people are looking for. I'm not saying they're 100% accurate, but at least, you can see when you look at a study like that straight out, what's the difference in, mindset between a Gen Z, millennial, Gen Xers, men, women, people who are engineers, people who are, just graduates of other things, management students. So I think we at least tend to just try and lean on some of these studies as well, just to get a sense.
Makes sense. Vajanti, I know you have to leave for the airport. Do we have time for one more question for you?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Professor Rosie, would you like to unmute yourself and ask? Okay. I will just read out her question. It's directed to you, Vajanti. Does Axis Bank HR policies involve stakeholders, that is up-down communication?
Okay. Okay. So the policy creation process does involve stakeholders of different kinds, right? So, you have people, you have your own employees, you have your multiple business stakeholders. You have to also look at compliance matters, because at the end of the day, this is a bank and it's a regulated entity. So every stakeholder is considered whenever you're crafting any policy. We can't make a policy that doesn't land correctly, first of all. And we can't create a policy that, which is not compliant. So we have to be very mindful. So that's a very short answer to a very difficult question.
Thank you. And there's one, but I hope Professor Rogi, that answers your question. Okay, she's nodding. There's one question for you, Siddharth, from my side. I think you touched upon this, but tell me how, specifically in your field, how is hybrid work arrangement really affecting the creativity? I mean, I'm talking about from the marketing, specifically from marketing perspective, the brainstorming, and how has this been impacted?
So I think there are two views in my organization. I actually am a supporter of hybrid, but my partners are not. So even in an organization where there are 3 partners, there is a lot of differences. I think just something as simple as this, the traditional way you would do brainstorming will not work when you're doing brainstorming online. So you're going to have to make adjustments if you want to be hybrid. The same old way of working can't work, with doing hybrid stuff. That said, we did a small, we in the middle moved to a hub and spoke model where we set up 5 or 6 offices across the city. The rank and file of the organization was very happy with that. The managers in the organization were very unhappy, and we moved back to a centralized office. So yes, I think we are figuring it out.
Okay. Because we have other panelists from different backgrounds, what is your observation on this point? Animesh, Vijay, because as I said, we have a mix of panelists from different levels of different types of organizations. So anything from your side?
So I think I made my point very clear from the beginning, is that, to manage a hybrid or manage a virtual team, our skill has to be enhanced. Like Siddharth said that, the old conventional ways of doing things will not work. So who has to learn? The question is, it is not the team members, they also need to learn, but as much as the supervisors, managers, they have a lot to learn to do newer way of doing things. And it cannot be probably be discussed in 1 minute, but I think it's a very deep session and a deep learning which is required. But that's the future.
Okay. And Animesh, what about you?
I think we touched upon this earlier, Supriya, that in our experience, when we actually went into COVID lockdowns, given that we are a 24/7 industry, teams came up with the most incredible solutions on how to continue to deliver in a 24/7 framework. What we found and what my experience has been, that as long as you have relation capital, social capital in the team, some of hybrid can continue to help with collaboration and creativity. But the biggest problem happens is when you're inducting new members into teams. And in that context, and as the percentage of new members continues to go up, because there's attrition, which is a reality, it becomes a lot more difficult because there is no relationship capital, no relationship bank that people can draw on to build on to drive collaboration, to do that creative, to create that safe space that is required, which is the bedrock of all collaboration and creativity. When that is not there, and that cannot happen without people spending time with each other. Technology only goes so far, at least till now. So that's been our experience.
Okay, great. Vaijayanti,
So Priya, I think I will need to sign out. So I
your
did-
concluding remarks?
Yeah, from my side, yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, okay. So thanks so much, first of all, for having me for this panel, although I'm a part of the BMA family. So, happy to do this. And the panel has been super amazing. I think Vijay, Siddharth, Animesh learned so much from all of you, and the questions have been so wonderful. It just tells me that we didn't have a somnolent post-lunch session, and maybe you all had coffee, but I love the interaction. My own understanding of this subject and grew, and I've made some friends, and I will reach out to all of you whenever I'm battling with some of these issues that keep coming up off and on. So several things were spoken about. Yes, the new employee mindset is maybe a bit different, but then there, it's like any other empirical science, like, so 90% is different, but maybe there are 10%, which is just like good old us. So one size fits all is not going to work, I think, is the larger message. And I'm hearteningly also taking away, and this is my own internal bias coming up, I think, that, n equal to 1 for employees, we have to tread with caution because there is a cultural angle that we need to look at. So I would love, and now signing out from my side, it's been a pleasure, and thanks once again. Thank you, BMA, Yogi ji, for setting this wonderful topic, and I've had a lovely time. Thanks once again.
Thank you.
Vaijayanti, on behalf of the
Thank
panel, thank you for an absolutely excellent facilitation. You were spectacular. Thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So
Thank you.
I have two things to do now. One is thank the panel on behalf of BMA for this wonderful discussion that
Supriya logged out, is it?
I think her connections.
Zing HR, and they're using, can you hear me? I think I have
Yes.
slightly unstable network. Can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So I'd like to invite Vijay again, along with his team member Vineet Chakna, for a small session. So at BMA, we're quite excited to partner for this conference with Zing HR, who's using technology to make HR functions deliver at scale. So Vijay, over to you for your presentation.
Yeah, so after such a lovely session, I won't take much time, though we have 5 minutes, but I'll try to close it very quickly. While what is Zing HR, I think most of the fraternity sitting here would definitely know. If not, then I would like to say that we are a new age SaaS-based technology platform, HR tech platform, much like SAP, Workday, etc., etc. What I would like to highlight here is that in our customers are essentially our focus, the center, the heart of whatever we do. While we say that the implementation of a product is critical, fast track implementation is becoming even more critical. So an outcome-based implementation framework, which essentially helps us to go live early, will help business have significant outcome. To illustrate that, I'll request Vineet to show a small video and then maximum 2 slides of what we do.
Sure. Sharing my screen. You let me know once it's visible.
Yeah, it's visible.
So, Beneath, I don't think we need to show the slides. It essentially covered everything that we wanted to show in the slides as well. Just the fact that we have about 800 customers and about 2 million users as we speak. We are present in India, Southeast Asia, Middle East, and so on and so forth. So if you are thinking about NetCM platform, please do remember Zing HR.
Thank you. Okay, so a note for audience, you've been a lovely audience and asking such interesting questions. And now it's time for the next session, which starts in just a few minutes, 3:45. Related to knowing and understanding which factors triggers attrition, understanding the attrition conundrum. So please stay logged in and we will be starting our next session soon.
Thanks, Supriya.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
When I first entered the campus, I was astonished to see the lush green environment and of course the red bricks. The entire campus was filled with beautiful flowers and greenery all around. Well, the very first sight, I could see the colors red, green and blue. The blueness of the sky is something that could not be matched with what we see in the city.
IMT Nagpur was established in the year 2004 with a vision to lead the future with continuous innovation, aspirations and foresight.
We have a lush green campus, completely Wi-Fi enabled. This enables every student to go to any corner or nook of the campus, use their laptops, mobiles, and work out for all their cases or any study-related material.
The foundation of IMD Nagpur is firmly based on the concept for creating a center for corporate excellence, and this has been the driving force behind the successful journey of IMT Nagpur.
So case study analysis is the best way where we can see the diversity of point of view that students bring on the table. And that generates and that increases the students' dynamism also.
So as soon as we get the case, we go through it, we try to read in between the lines, and then you head to the library, which is LRC over here.
The Learning Resource Center at IMT Nagpur is having a vast variety and a peripheral of journals, books, and cases. Students are imbibed with a lot of knowledge coming right from the beginner stage till their professional lives.
We end up our classes around 5 and the live starts at 6 p.m. in the evening till 6 a.m. in the morning.
Having a huge football ground, a lawn tennis court, a badminton court, table tennis, and my personal favorite, the basketball court. At the end of the day, all of us from our classes, we end up at the court or at the ground trying to refresh ourselves, playing for a while and keeping ourselves fresh at the end of the day.
Our goal is distinct and clear. We nurture the future leaders. We plant the seeds that are inherently capable of producing leaders who are capable of creating new hallmarks in the world of business, economy, and society.
The urge to learn, the ability to think, the ability to act, and the ability to adapt to different kinds of environment is something that I've been learning at IMT. These are definitely a few traits that the corporates look out for when they go out to interview candidates. And I'm sure that when I walk out of IMT, I will be corporate ready.
We welcome you to experience IMT Nagpur.
Namaste, Yogi ji.
Hi, PV. Namaskaram.
Namaste, sir. How are you doing?
Fine, very well. So this is your office at home?
No, this is Tata Projects office.
Oh, I see.
I'm doing some work for Tata Projects. That's why
Right.
I'm here.
Good. Is Vinayak still the CEO or somebody else is?
Vinayak Deshpande has retired. Now it is Vinayak Pai.
Oh, that's the man from one of the hydrocarbon engineering companies, if I remember right.
He is from
Starting with J.
Jacobs, the design company.
Jacobs, yeah, that's right. Jacobs is a hydrocarbon infrastructure company into design.
Yeah. So I have just come in.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for making it. So where is this office?
Hiranandan.
Okay. I'm not too far. I'm in my office in Amen Tower.
I see. Okay. Hi, everyone.
Just to introduce you.
Good evening and thanks for joining. This is Rajesh.
He's the president of BMA, and then we have director of IMT Nagpur. Then we have the host and honorary secretary of BMA, Supriya.
Hello.
Hi, Supriya ji.
Hello.
Good
Welcome
evening.
to the panel.
Yeah, sorry.
No, please go ahead, sir.
I just want to say good evening to Dr. Murthy.
Good evening, sir.
We are just, I think we still have 5 minutes to start, and we are waiting for Mr. Sanjay Jog to log in.
Sure.
So Yogi ji, Shripad here.
Hi.
Mr. Vinayak Pai was in Jacobs, of course, then he was in Worley, Worley.
Worley Parsons.
Yeah. From there he came here.
Right. We are doing the Trans-Harbour link with Tata Projects, L&T is.
Yes.
A third is with Tata Projects and 2/3 is ours.
Yeah. I'm aware of it. I think they call it stage 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, it's called Trans-Harbour link.
Trans-Harbour link, yes. But what a beautiful.
We can zip across to Uran in 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And in the bargain, watch flamingos flying over our head.
Yeah, I did that actually. I went there to see the project.
Oh, wow.
Yes, beautiful.
Yeah. I go there to shoot flamingos. I'm the official photographer. That's my second job. Like NEP talks about major and minor. Major is HR, minor is photography.
Yeah.
So the project office has all my snaps of flamingos flying across.
Okay.
They're very goofy looking birds, you know. They look very goofy and sort of, they're almost amusing.
Oh, I saw their dancing once. You know, I saw their dancing once. It was absolutely fabulous. Some nice, decent music as if is going on.
Yeah, they sort of stand on one leg as if they're ballet dancers.
And hundreds and thousands of them, they were all going in one direction and then a sudden turn. It was absolutely fabulous.
They actually almost reenact a march.
Yeah.
They go straight. It's a bit like the beating of the retreat, you know, they keep going
Something
in
like that.
circles.
But I remember about 15 years back, the number of flamingos they used to fly over to Navi Mumbai has really gone down substantially.
Yeah. So there are two types of flamingos. One is called lesser flamingo. What you see around Trans-Harbour Link and Nerul and Delhi Public School.
Right.
All lesser flamingos. The larger ones are called greater flamingos, which you find in a place called Little Rann of Kutch.
But am I correct in saying that few years back, let's say about 10, 20 years back, even the greater flamingos used to come? They were big ones, and a lot
I'm
of
sure. I'm sure.
Yeah, because
I
that
mean,
I didn't see this time.
yeah, I mean, I'm very sure you would have seen much more than.
Yeah.
I've been to Little Rann of Kutch, where they all sort of migrate. I don't know where they go further. I think it's a kind of a stopover.
I think Kutch they stop over.
Maybe coming in from Siberia or something. Haven't
Yeah.
followed the path. Can someone check if Sanjay is logged in?
Shripat?
He has logged in. He is already in the room.
Just say hello so that I can see you.
Please kindly invite him.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Then we better invite him fast.
Yes, I'm just trying to spot him. Yes. Hello, Mr. Sanjay.
Hi, Sanjay. Hi, Sanjay. Good to see you.
Hey, good to see you too. How are you?
Hi, Sanjay.
Great.
Hi.
Now we can see you and we can hear you.
Good.
Welcome to the next panel discussion. So let's get started. Our next panel discussion, as I said before, is related to knowing and understanding which factors triggers attrition. The theme is the attrition conundrum, Unhooked. And we have an excellent panel set up for this discussion, which will be driven by and facilitated by Mr. Yogi Sriram. And I'd like to introduce the other two panelists. And I'll start with Dr. P.V. Ramanamurthy. So Dr. Murthy, he's the managing partner at Pinsight by PV. It's a global human capital company. And he's a senior management advisor and head employment and labor laws at economic laws practice. Dr. P.V. Ramanamurthy is an academic practitioner, HR and OD consultant, lawyer, writer, and an entrepreneur. He has a corporate experience of 3.5 decades. Until recently, he served the Indian Hotels Company Limited, Taj Group of Hotels, the hospitality chain of Tata Group as its executive vice president and global head of human resources. He's a CHRO. And before that, as the executive director at executive director human resources at the Coca-Cola Company, TCCC. So welcome, Dr. Murthy, to the panel.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Supriya ji. Thanks everyone, and Yogi ji, thank you very much for having me here.
My pleasure.
Now I'd like to introduce our second panelist, Mr. Sanjay Jo. He is the CHRO at Reliance Jio. He has worked over 30 years. He has over 30 years of experience in managing HR as well as business. He's worked with organizations like Taj Group of Hotels, DHL Worldwide Express, RPG Enterprises, where he was the head of RPG's international music business as well as the head of HR at retail. Sanjay has also worked in the telecom industry with Bharti Enterprises as head of HR for mobility business. At Future Group, he was credited for growing the organization from 3,000 to over 50,000 people in a short period of time. So it's great to have you on board, Mr. Sanjay. Thank you so much for agreeing to join this panel discussion. And now I hand over the panel to you, Yogi sir.
Thank you, Supriya. Two more words about the panelists. One is P.V. Ramanamurthy Garu, who's out here. He is an amazing writer. I very recently reviewed his book called The Power of Humility. And one of the aspects that jumps out of that book is hubris, which is perhaps one of the reasons why attrition happens in the first instance. So it's very relevant. If you read that book, and particularly if you see the index page, You will be most impressed at the number of references he has made. So compliments to you, PV Garu.
Thank you very much.
And we are very fortunate to have Sanjay, who's, what can I say, he's heading the Reliance Jio, which is a massive, massive organization. And, the kind of rich experience he's had in companies like RPG, etc., has been tremendous. So thank you, Sanjay, for being there. Let me start this discussion by talking about an experiment which was done by a person called Solomon Asch. And that was done in 1952, if I remember right. So this experiment was very interesting. What he did was he had 10 confederates. And of these 10, of these 10 confederates, he took into confidence 9 of them. And one of them he was silent with, he didn't tell them anything. So what was the exercise that these 10 confederates were supposed to do? There were 3 lines, line A, line B, line C. A was short, B was a little longer, and C was even longer than B. So the exercise involved the following. He would show a card with these 3 lines and ask each of these 10 confederates, which line is longer? Is it B or A or is it C? First, you'd start with 2 lines. So here are the 10 confederates. The first person has been taken into confidence. Actually, B is longer than A, as I said earlier. So he says, which line is longer between A and B? He says A is longer, though B is actually longer. The second one, A is longer. The third one, A is longer. The fourth one, A is longer. And so on, till the 10th guy who's not been taken into confidence is asked. The first time, he says, no, B is longer. Then he repeats it again. This time, the guy who has not been taken into confidence and with whom we have kept this whole thing as a secret says, you know what, scratches his head and says, maybe A is longer. Whereas factually in his mind, he knows that B is longer. So this is one of the most famous experiments on a subject called conformity. And of course, obedience and conformity has been discussed in Zimbardo's experiments also with the famous or infamous Stanford prison experiment, or the Stanford University mimicking the prison experiment. But that is not so relevant as compared to Solomon Asch. I think Solomon Asch is so relevant because when a young person resigns, there is a demonstration effect for 5 other people saying, "Main bhi jaunga iske saath." Why should this guy resign for a higher CTC and leave me alone here? So it becomes almost like conforming to a new norm. And I think what we are discussing today afternoon is how do we understand the young minds better? Because we can keep lamenting, particularly in the IT sector, where quarter after quarter, they have to report the attrition, because attrition is something that can affect their EBIT and they can affect their bottom line and so on. Why only IT? It also applies equally to Geo, it applies equally to IHCL. Both my colleagues out here would have had concerns and hiccups about attrition, because you get that low sinking feeling in your mind, even if, or in your heart, when one of your colleagues comes and says, "Sir, I want to leave." Isn't it? Your team member comes and says, your dear team member comes and says. So line managers are really pained. In the IT sector, of course, it's been very exaggerated and a lot has been said about the great resignation. The 3-4 things I'd like to say about those who've been resigning, and I refer back to the study which I talked about in the morning comments. 13,338 people were surveyed in 6 countries. And what they found, of course, this is skewed more towards UK, Canada, and US, because I think about 780 people, n is equal to 780 was interviewed from India. The study reveals that people from hospitality, retail, caregivers did not come back to their original calling. Can you imagine? So it's not attrition from the company alone, it's attrition from the profession, which is very, very, very difficult for manpower planners because you have only so much and more food craft companies or institutions. You have so many IHCs, and where are you going to get these people from? Where are you going to get these telecom professionals from? Where are you going to get these communication professionals from? So it's a huge challenge. And I think while we, of course, lament this new wave that we've seen this month of a huge number of layoffs, and the layoffs seem to be percolating into not just the edutech sector, which was talking about it a few weeks back, but now into almost every sector, including into IT. IT is big time thinking about layoffs, talking about layoffs, doing layoffs. Of course, in the US, etc., is mostly product and platform companies, but it's percolating also to software companies. So in companies where your, shall we say, raw material, your asset is people, services companies particularly, it really pinches if your attrition is high. And if voluntary attrition crosses, say, a particular limit, I don't know whether it's 5%, I just written it that for fun in the agenda, but whether it's 5% or 6% or 7%, there's a threshold point. Of course, some amount of attrition may be healthy, but there's a threshold point. I'd love to hear the comments of the panelists, starting with Sanjay, about what he thinks about this young conformist attitude. Is there a demonstration effect? Is it like some kind of a infection that spreads? If one person resigns, the other person says, why not me? And the third person says, why not me? Is it a contagion? How does one contain it? What are your insights about going into young minds and figuring out why are you leaving?
To start with, I don't know whether I was qualified to talk about this, Yogi, because the way we have looked at, I mean, we don't track attrition in all honesty. Yeah. If we take a view outside the organization, we say India is creating a lot of opportunities, and if India is creating a lot of opportunities, this is bound to happen. And more it happens, it's a happy situation as a society. So that people have options. It's a great thing too. So kind of 7-8 years back, we moved away from saying that why track attrition itself, yeah, and moved on to what is called as how do you build capabilities more than anything else. But to your question, and I'll stick to that rather than. But I thought I'll just preface it by saying this is where I'm coming from, or this is where we come from as an organization. It is contagious, no doubt. It is contagious because of two reasons, as we have seen it. People leave for very meager amount of money, actually. Yeah, and particularly in frontline, it's not about you're getting a 50% rise or 20% rise. It is even 5%. Yeah, because that 5% is significant. That 5% means a lot. Okay? So that is one category of people. The other category of people is people, as you said, who quit the profession itself. And particularly if you have frontline people, and if they have options which are less taxing, if I were to use the word, then it becomes almost like a pandemic. The third kind that we have seen is where and it happens when you have a distributed organization where the manager manages 15, 20 or even 50 people max, yeah, and doesn't seem to be the right person, then it becomes very infectious. You suddenly have an exodus. Yeah. The fifth kind is in the technology area, where suddenly either somebody is coming to the market or there is a new technology that has come and everybody is, gravitating towards it. So yes, it's almost like pandemic. Yeah. So those are some of the things which we have found in terms of something which which cascades, which is infectious and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that what Sanjay has said resonated very well with me. I'll just before I answer your question, is attrition contagious? Let me just set a context. Let me just say as to what I have been observing. From my perspective, what I am seeing, what I am hearing at this point in time, something very strange. I think that in the last 35, 40 years of time, I have never seen this kind of a change taking place at this pace, which means what, the change that is taking place has been much more rapid. That's one thing. And when we look at some of the things that are taking place, it's, every day we see in newspapers how many people are laid off, 100 people, 1,000 people. It has become the new normal for some of the startups and many of the companies to talk about layoffs. And from the people perspective, there are any number of opportunities out there. I think that people have got opportunities within the country and outside the country also. Businesses were coming up with new business models. So there is a lot of change that is going around. So from my perspective, I think that when we look at attrition, a whole lot of the things have changed, and looking at the attrition as to how do we retain talent may not be a very relevant thing. What do I mean by that? I would look at it from this perspective. If I am running an organization, I need to have certain critical capabilities to ensure that that my organization runs without any break or without any major disruption. So the thing which I would look at is, when I look at the attrition numbers, is within those critical capabilities, the people who are holding those critical capabilities. Let me take an example to drive home this point. Take, for example, IHCL, the last organization where I had worked. Taj, general manager of a hotel, is the most critical person. From my perspective, the general manager of a hotel is much more important than the CEO of the organization. So do we have the right kind of capabilities, the general managerial capabilities within the organization? That's number one. If I'm losing people there, it is a major concern. It's a major concern. What is the number? I think that, some of the attrition cannot be avoided because of all these changes that are taking place all around us. People would leave because, there are aspirations, there is attraction from outside, and there are a whole lot of things that would happen. So at that, when it comes to critical capabilities, I would like to keep it below the 10%, which is, it should be in single digits. That's how I would look at it. When it comes to, some of the other positions where it is, I can groom talent or get talent from outside within no time. So I won't really lose my sleep over the number, as to, what is the percentage of attrition that is taking place. I would lose my sleep when talent is not getting groomed within the organization. So
let me push you on that question a little more, and also Sanjay, being ex-Taj, can comment maybe. What if your star chef leaves? Let's say there's a chef who's working in Goa, and people would cancel their holiday if this guy is on leave. He's so good. Forgive me for saying, but maybe even more in demand than the general manager. I mean, the people who are really rich and famous want to talk to the chef more than they want to talk to the GM.
Absolutely.
And this is important. So what do you do there? I mean, this is really hurting talent. I mean, hurting in terms of leaving.
You're absolutely right. I'll speak about Taj itself. While I had mentioned about the general manager, chef is another critical position. Likewise, there could be a few critical positions in the organization. If the chef leaves, so it's a major issue. This is where going back to what I said earlier, am I developing those capabilities within the organization? Taj, take for example, Taj. Taj has got a tie-up with IHM Aurangabad, where the capabilities are built. So Taj is taking that the proactive step to build the capabilities at IHM Aurangabad by having a partnership with the hotel school and then getting the talent inside. So this is where, I would sharply focus on the critical capabilities and understand whether I'm building those capabilities within the organization or outside the organization. So there is no major disruption. That's where, I would like to, but attrition, like I said, is unavoidable. Chefs come and go, they also leave because, somebody else will pay them more, or they have their own aspiration to go out of the country or work something else, join a ship and do something different. There could be a whole lot of other things, they could get attracted to. So this is where, I would say that, it is less than 10%. It is in single digits is what I would target when it comes to those critical capabilities.
Sanjay, I want to pick up that point you made. Of course, you can say something on the chef part because you too have worked there, but I want to dwell on the point that you made on creating capability rather than worrying your head about attrition. But isn't it a bit of a challenge that where you want to create capability, people may not want to choose that domain? I mean, maybe you're lucky that you're having plenty of a pipeline from the engineering colleges and so on. But if you look at the matter a little deeper, the line managers lament that the quality of the talent they're getting year after year is not as good as before. And how do you build that capability? Because you seem to be very confident in your organization that doesn't matter whatever the attrition is, I'll have a wave of people coming. Isn't it an expensive way?
Let me answer this in two, three. I see 2-3 questions there. Yeah. For anybody who's critical to the organization, and if it's money, then I'll break the bank for them. So that's the quick answer to anybody who's critical talent. Having said that, and my knowledge of Taj is 20 years old, 20 years back that I worked there. So I may be wrong. But having said that, I mean, in today's world, there is an opportunity to standardize recipes and so on and so forth. Yeah. And such like things. I'm keeping it very simplistic. Yeah. And those are the capabilities that we need to start building in. And that's exactly, I come back to Geo in that sense.
Yeah.
By saying that, break it down into what are the things that, that we can build ourselves, which we can standardize ourselves. What are the things that are simplistic to teach, and so on and so forth. At a simplistic level, yeah, let's look at our retail business, and let's look at our frontline people for a moment. Yeah, and we say that if I look at a day in the life of a customer service associate, there are jobs which are interactive in nature, and there are jobs which are done pre-opening. Yeah, but the same person is doing both the jobs. As soon as I split the day in the life, then I don't require an English speaking or even a person who who cannot converse well for pre-opening, and suddenly a very different kind of an opportunity opens up. And we have done that in whether it was our network jobs, whether it was our jobs where in the technology and many other technology areas. There are some technologies which will always be in demand and will break the bank for it, so we'll keep doing it. We almost hire about 6,000 engineers per year. Yeah. Are they of the same quality? They are not. They are, of course, not. And therefore, there is a group of people, and we all have done this ABC of management schools. So we follow a similar approach. Yeah. And therefore, the training inputs are very different. The people who need far more inputs get it for almost a year. People who need a lesser inputs get it for 6 months, and the others for 3. So there is a continuous pipeline. Having said that, yeah, there are developers who are in a particular, who are building apps for us, for example. Yeah. We again, we face this whole issue of saying that iOS developers are not available. Yeah. But the critical thing that is required for iOS development is only those 2 or 3 people. The rest is Janta, which is doing really coding. Yeah. Which is simplistic. Yeah. So to me, breaking this down, it's a hard learning to break it down. Yeah, helps in terms of building this whole pipeline. Having said that, if I lose a chef and if I can't afford to lose, during my time, Chef Solomon, and I'm sure you would know him. Yeah, then I would break a bank for it. Yeah.
Tell me, Sanjay, that people say, this is a cliched term, that people say, employees leave bosses, not companies. And, if you do an employee satisfaction survey, what comes out is not so clear in terms of a toxic boss. So two questions embedded one into the other. A, how do you remove toxicity as a HR head or a CHRO of such a huge company? How do you smell the toxicity? You won't even know what's going on. Somebody's rough and, using 4-letter words and stuff like that. And I'll come to the next one. I'll allow you to answer this.
Apologies for, I might go into a long answer. So
no problem.
Other panelists, just bear with me. I've just lost the ability to be brief. So just don't know. So we employ about 150,000 people. Yeah. We have a distributed architecture. They are spread across about 50,000 cities, towns, villages, whatever you call of India. So that's the depth of penetration. And the lowest, in that would be about 3 people kind of entity. Yeah. So that's one context. The other context is about 1 million retailers who work for us. And for me, I'm making a point of it because everybody has anybody in the distribution business will have retailers. But they are a part of our ecosystem, and therefore the training programs, everything also, they are a beneficiary of. At a fundamental level, if I look at 10, 15 years back, the technology advancement was always in the organizations, and the outside world was always technologically lesser. In today's world, the technology outside is far, far more developed than the technology within enterprises. Yeah, and therefore the gap is very wide. So, for example, there are only enabling technologies in the outside world. I don't have to ask anybody for which restaurant that I should order from. I don't have to ask anybody about which film I should see or which OTT is releasing what kind of film. And therefore, people have been empowered to take their own decisions. They don't have to consult anybody. They have something to consult. Come back to within the organization, that kind of an environment just doesn't exist. Yeah. Because our systems are I'd still do performance appraisal that I used to do 10 years back or 20 years back. I could put various kinds of names to it, balance scorecard, or KRAs, or whatever else you want to call it. Yeah. But the reality is that I use the same systems, which are less and less enabling. Yeah. And therefore, the whole preoccupation that we had in terms of creating a work atmosphere where the manager has less to do with permissions. Yeah. So that was the thought process. And therefore, how do you create a mechanism? How do you create a platform? How do you create an app which enables people? And at a simplistic level, yeah, the salespeople don't have to don't have to check into the office. The app allows them to check into a retail store, for example, that they are gone to. Yeah. And the app tracks your route. So the manager knows that you've covered 6 stores or 10 stores. That was your beat. Yeah. He can give them a beat plan, and then still the app will tell the manager that somebody's followed or not followed the beat plan. So there is no interaction that happens on this count. Yeah. We know the distance traveled, and therefore the money is paid automatically because the platform calculates the money. So there is no interaction of somebody signing off. if you have, if you have any bills that you produce because of food or because of whatever else that you spent on, the app allows you to take a picture and it gets uploaded and gets paid. So where is it that we can still have security, but avoid interactions which are policy related interactions? Somebody signs up, and that's the world that I belong to, actually. But this enabling world which exists outside, how do I bring it in? And this is one example. The other example, and I'll not dwell further, maybe later in the conversation. The other is, people are used to this thumbs up thing. For everything there is a thumbs up available, whether it's a movie, whether it's a food, whether it's whatever you do. Yeah. And the thumbs up is about saying that, I recognize that you produce something great. Do I have a mechanism within the organization which talks in terms of recognizing performance, recognizing people, and do it instantly? Yeah, it's not quarterly, it's not weekly, it's not, how do I do it? I don't have that mechanism. How do I bring that in? And to me, if I reduce that gap, there's a good chance that the environment becomes very different. I'll talk about the toxic manager and so far, and how do we tackle that maybe a little later, and hand over to somebody else to respond to this.
No, let me turn to PV. So the same question for you, since we're going to go back to Sanjay about the toxic manager. Let's say, for example, PV, you hired an expat on a massive salary because, he brings in expertise of training general managers like no one else. But the guy is toxic. And you find some people leaving because of that. How do you deal with such people? How do you deal with bosses who are toxic? And do you think that this sort of a toxicity is, something that can be tolerated as a trade-off because the person brings huge business value?
From my perspective, I think you have talked about my book. I have narrated some of these experiences there also.
Yes.
See, culture is everything for an organization. It's everything. It's you can't, not your money, not your leadership, not your talent. Everything is supported only when you have a good culture. Without a good culture, nothing exists in the organization in the long run. Given that scenario, I have never tolerated toxicity at the workplace, and I would prefer to exit such people or send them back. There are several such examples where people come in, especially when I worked in Coca-Cola. Expats come in from other countries. They would get deployed by your headquarters in Atlanta. They would come here, and then the entire the environment gets vitiated. This is where, taking those tough stands and then influencing, convincing people, and either sending them, repatriating them back to their countries or to wherever it is. I think, it's protecting the culture. From my perspective, the CHRO's fundamental role is to safeguard the culture, build the right kind of environment or culture so that people would thrive in those organizations. So that's the fundamental role. It's not about performance management. It's not about compensation. It's not about something else. HR's fundamental role, I always believe, that is to safeguard the culture and nurture the right kind of culture. So to answer your question, Yogiji, I would not tolerate, and I won't recommend any organization tolerating it, saying that this person, many times we see that, business heads who are toxic, even narcissistic, they would be bringing the results, the outcome would happen, the revenues are achieved, profits are achieved, and then the boards are unable to take a decision. So, that is, in the long run, it's going to destroy the organization. This is where the attrition takes place. The toxicity at the top or at the leadership level is one of the root causes of people leaving the organization. It is the environment. When I join an organization as an employee, what am I experiencing here? Am I experiencing my development? Forget about my career growth, promotions, and all that. Am I experiencing my development? Am I being developed? Am I learning? Am I moving forward or not? That's what people test. When that is not happening, I think people would leave. So this is where I always talk about culture and linking that culture back to purpose. As to why does the organization exist? Is it just to make money, or is it to do something different for the societal benefit? Is what really matters in terms of retention of people and creating the right kind of environment.
Talking about culture, PV, whether it is Sanjay's organization or your organization, Sanjay's is a little more probably not little more, substantially more into digital and new world and stuff. But hospitality, though it's a service, is somewhat more traditional and has perhaps more of a command and control kind of a environment. I mean, no one's going to challenge a general manager about the instruction he's going to give to a junior housekeeper. So there is a command and control. Now, when you take youngsters from the IHMs and so on, they want autonomy, they want absolute freedom. How is the hotel industry changing in general, not necessarily IHCL, but in meeting this new challenge of these youngsters who don't want to be told about how to put a bed cover without creases, or how to, look for customer preferences in the room after the person is checked out. They want to be out of the box.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. There is a generational gap. The beliefs we carry at our age are different from the beliefs the youngsters carry. And certainly, there is that dichotomy at the workplace. And to answer your question, I think that, one thing we must admit is you work for Taj and Sanjay, and I never knew that Sanjay also worked for Taj, by the way. So all of us incidentally were part of Taj. See, the philosophy at Taj, at least, in the recent past or when I was there, whatever I could, see, the philosophy has always been there. It is, it is invert the pyramid. The customer, the moment of truth is when the customer walks in and feels happy about the experience and pays the bill. So that's the moment of truth. Given that scenario, the people who are serving the customer, this is where, we always talked about inverting the pyramid and creating the organizational policies or HR processes around that kind of a philosophy. So it's not that it is command and control, it is command and empower rather. You set the goal direction as to in which direction you need to move and leave it to those people. So most of the hotels have this policy that, if the client asks for something, let's say whatever it is, and it costs some money, the frontline guys can, they can sign off and then they can do it. They don't have to ask somebody else or take instructions from them. So this is where, command and control, definitely it doesn't work in service organizations.
Let me push you a little bit and provoke you a little bit, PV.
Oh yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
I'm going to provoke you on this. If you
Yes.
look at your luxury hotels,
Yes.
it's almost a fashion for people to sport certain brands, to, talk about Thomas Pink shirts, to talk about Gucci bags and stuff. I mean, there's almost a sort of a small amount of an arrogance, including in the body language. They're walking on water. So is that
employees you mean, or the clients?
I'm talking about your very senior people also.
Oh, okay.
What sort of messages are we giving to the youngsters? Are they approachable?
Yeah.
I mean, hotel guys look pretty stiff.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good question. But before that, see, I left Taj and now I work as a consultant. I work with Bosch, Tata Projects, Novo Nordisk, and several other organizations. So, but still, to answer your question, the luxury brand, let's say, the whatever property, in the luxury brands, the target customer is XYZ, people from your South Mumbai or South Delhi, or perhaps, people like you and Sanjay, they are the guests at those luxury properties. And they expect, that bit of confidence. Having said that, the general managers or the people there, the leadership members there, they are not arrogant in any sense. The way they treat their people is with utmost respect. Utmost respect. And also, you know what? There is a process, I must talk about it. There is a process in every hotel wherein if an employee, there is an online process which is called WeConnect. Any member can write anything. Any employee can write anything. It could be as silly as the food in the canteen is not good, sambar was tasting bad. Within 24 hours, it goes on to the notice boards kept for that purpose, and the general manager will have to stand before all the employees and answer back as to what are they doing about it. It works across globally also in all the hotels. This works. So the employees are treated with utmost respect. The confidence which you see when they walk in the corridors, it is more for the guests and not for the employees, or it's not construed as arrogance.
Very good. That was just a fun question. Sanjay, you were about to talk about toxicity, and we would love to hear from you also about how this giant organization has built a unique culture, and that too, it belonged to an umbrella of hydrocarbon, retail, so many other cultures, subcultures. How did you zero into a geo culture?
Long question or a long answer again. Yeah. So
no
please don't mind. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about toxic work culture or toxic managers and so on and so forth. Yeah. So if I look at my organization, of those 150,000 people, yeah, about 25,000 work in what is called as head office, and rest are in the distributed geography. The distributed geography is a zero defection discipline like our hydrocarbon business. Yeah, absolutely zero defection. Because you're dealing with customers, you're dealing with assets which need to be perfect. I mean, if the uptime has to be 100, it has to be 100. It can't be 99 kind of thing. If there are so many retailers to be serviced, well, that's what you have to do day in and day out, etc. So very disciplined workforce as far as the geographies, as we call them, are concerned. Okay. And when you have, and it's also highly predictable, which means I can routinize the jobs that exist there. Yeah. When I can routinize the jobs, I can have a system to track them, because the jobs are routine. The jobs can be defined very, very clearly, and therefore tracking performance is both digital. The opportunity of tracking performance digitally becomes but of course there is always that 30% that we track in terms of behavior, etc. But 70% is still discipline, and therefore, just to draw an analogy, why pilots, minimum qualification is 12th standard, is because you don't want a creative pilot. Yeah, you want a pilot who just looks at the manual and does exactly the same things day in and day out every day. Yeah. And therefore, when we talk about people who want to be creative, yeah, and like you mentioned about the IHM people who want, are people who are younger, etc. It's the intake that matters, and therefore, what is the kind of attitude of people that you will take it? I'm not saying we have perfected it, but 80-20 are tests that we have work, whether it's a sales test, whether it's a test for our supply chain people, whether it's a test for our technical guys, etc., etc. Yeah. And therefore, the kind of people that we want who are disciplined are the kind of people that are there in the geographies. Yeah. So by necessary, I'm saying I wanted regiment. To the toxic environment back again. Yeah. If I can track performance, yeah, then my 70% is taken care of, because I've broken down the jobs into whatever granularity that I can do it, and therefore I can digitize it, and therefore I can track it, and therefore I can have visibility to it, and so on and so forth. And the visibility right up to to the HO or whoever is concerned. So it can move 7 levels, and people can have visibility, yeah. And it does. It happens. So therefore, the check and balance is that not only my boss, but my 2 levels above also has the visibility to what is happening in my organization as far as performance is concerned. Yeah. What there is no visibility to is really in terms of day-to-day behavior and so on and so forth. Yeah. Does my platform of whistleblowing work? I can say it works. Should it work better? Yeah, it should work far, far better. Yeah. So that element still is not digitized, and I don't think it will happen so soon. There are other mechanisms which you do traditionally. You do the dip survey, this, that, the other, which we do. Yeah, and make sure that you track that. But zero defection if the atmosphere is toxic. We have a check and balance mechanism. I have what are called as loss prevention officers in every cluster. Yeah, whose job is to actually audit what's happening, kind of thing. So apart from loss prevention, they also do what is called as environment audit, etc. I'm in an open office, so you will hear noises, so don't mind that. Yeah,
no problem.
Yeah, sorry for that. Yeah,
no, it's okay.
So zero defection as far as the geography is concerned. Now back to your question in terms of, did we import people from overseas? Oh, plenty of them, because that expertise was only available somewhere else. What we did every single time up to a fault was always paired them with an Indian person. Yeah, two reasons for it. One, they come in for 2 years or thereabouts, yeah, on a contract. I want to acquire the skill that they have, and skill transfer was important. And second, in terms of interaction, yeah, how do you make sure that their interaction is contextually correct? Yeah, so to a fault, pairing with somebody is what we did. And as I said, there were two reasons for it. One is skills transfer, and the other is interaction which is contextually appropriate, etc., etc. So were they toxic? Well, I wouldn't say they were toxic, but they were more in terms of they didn't understand the context called India, and therefore their behavior was toxic, no doubt about it. Yeah. So how to mitigate that? Yeah, initially we erred on the side of saying, "Hamare paas to ye talent hai, nahi to kya kare?" But then we said that we are going to get much more than just ones or twos, and that's when we started this pairing off and so forth. So does that adequate response to?
Absolutely.
Or did I miss out on something?
No, not at all. Not at all. Very, very interesting. And please now tell us about this open office and the new culture that you have. You're sitting in an open office demonstrating that, something maybe which is quite different from maybe your other businesses where you have huge cabins, etc. Maybe I'm just imagining.
Yeah. So I think two clear reasons for it. I think we had the benefit of the younger generation coming, and the first thing about it was we can't sit in closed doors. We have to have openness, and I for one hated it. I can't deny that. Yeah, because for me, HR, everything is secret, but you quickly realize that that's not true. Everybody knows everything. So, well, what it did or what it does, yeah. I mean, 2 seats away, where Mr. Ambani, the senior Ambani sits from here, and therefore, if he has to talk, he shouts from there. I have to just do this, and I can see him, kind of thing. Yeah. What it did was, it was a departure from what Reliance Industries was used to, no doubt about it. Yeah. But collaboration became easier. It took those 3 months or 4 months, but collaboration became easier because everybody knew what each other was doing, because all of us were sitting in the same place and talking. So there was complete transparency, which happened by accident. So there was no withholding of information. So, and Mr. Ambani has his habit of his speakerphone on, so we knew what he was up to, kind of thing. And his view was that सब साथ में ही काम करते हैं, ये तो एक ही फैमिली है, इसमें क्या secrets है? So whether he was talking to so and so, we knew it, kind of thing. So 3-4 months difficult, but after that I think we got used to it, and therefore I didn't move into a conference room because it doesn't occur to me. But now, by other colleagues talking, I said, yeah, maybe it's going to disturb others. Yeah, so that was about open office. And so many other things happened in the environment, of course. Yeah, for example, our offices are open 24/7. Our campus is open 24/7. Our pool is open 24/7. Our sporting facilities are open 24/7. Our food courts are open 24/7. Not all of them, but after 11 o'clock, only 4 or 5 of them are there. Because what we realized was there are a lot of youngsters who have come from outside, live in New Bombay, and food is one thing that is, and we have pretty decent food, and the variety of food is at least 22 or 23 different cuisines. So people can alternate, and they don't have to cook at home. They can come do a takeaway, and therefore all this one wouldn't have thought of. The new generation came in, and they looked at the very different lens, and we thought it was quite silly. But I think the number of people who partake in it is quite a lot. People come to the gym at 4 o'clock in the morning. There are people who play basketball at odd hours, which is 2 o'clock and so forth, because that's their hangout place. So it's not only the open office; it's the elements around it which make a difference. Families allowed to the campus on weekends. It's like a picnic spot because we have our lake inside. We have our whatever else that we do.
Amazing.
Yeah. So people. I mean, we are fortunate to have a 550-acre campus. I mean, that's a privilege that we have. So we can do all these things. So that creates a very different kind of a mindset. Reliance Industries followed suit. Yeah, they opened they went into open offices. Yeah, it took 2 years for them, but they went into open offices. So I think the rub-off culture is great. We at Jio are always grateful to Reliance Industries for their perfection. Our network would not have come up in such quick time if we didn't have that perfection mindset. Yeah, and therefore these concurrent realities coexist for us. There is a discipline part of the organization. There is a creative part of the organization. There is a sale customer care kind of, there is a development kind of an organization. Very different melting pot, actually. Media business to people who are app developers, to people who are coders, to people who, maintain networks. So all kinds of people, young, old, everything. Is it unique? We have allowed people to do what is relevant for their group. The IT guys have Coke pizza parties. Do the network guys have that? No, they don't. Because that's not a part of their culture. Yeah. So we've allowed them to, kind of have their own piece of culture. If I would, yeah. And that works well. That works well. The media guys have their own way of celebrating, if I were to use the word. Yeah, which we say, yeah, that's the way you guys celebrate, so go ahead and do that kind of thing. Yeah, so it works. Yeah.
Thank you. That is amazing. PV, tell me, there's the morning keynote speaker talked about the power balance shifting to employers in the year 2023. Maybe he was commenting about that in the context of all the layoffs that are happening and employers letting people go. Do you think that this sort of a countervailing power, to use what John Kenneth Galbraith said, in terms of employees saying, if you guys can fire us whenever, then we will leave whenever we want, and hell with loyalty and stuff. Is this a sort of a lose-lose situation where each is having a power situation? And how does one remedy this power balance?
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good question. It is definitely a lose-lose situation. And if we take a step back and look at what had happened during COVID, and subsequently after the COVID, the great resignations, which shook the world, mostly, in the western part of the world, but I think that, it is India kind of countries are also catching up with it.
Yes.
I think that, it's when COVID came in, many of the employers were merciless. And many leaders talked about not wasting a crisis. What does it mean, not wasting a crisis? obviously includes, laying off people and saving on costs. And many companies have done it ruthlessly.
Consultant said that this is a great time for you to restructure.
Yeah. I think that, it is, I don't think that, I won't really appreciate that kind of a mindset. It's an organization exists for any number of years. It is not a sprint, it is a marathon. Given that kind of a scenario, I think, what has happened is that, the employees also, they knew that, now it is much more prominent that when there is no work, employer doesn't really hesitate to lay off or take their jobs off. And this is where, the employees also are looking around, and then, it's exploring the opportunities. And I think that, this is definitely a lose-lose situation. This is where I think that, the leaders, the employers need to have a relook at the way they look at the human resources. You can't reduce the cost of many of the things, right? All the things which we have built in terms of factories and the structures, we cannot do anything with it. But when it comes to human resources, we don't really hesitate before we take a call that 1,000 people laid off. Day before, I think a week back, I saw a news item in Economic Times. The XYZ.
So there is an uproar in both ways. There's an uproar if there are layoffs. There are uproar if there's a great resignation.
Yeah.
Both ways there are uproars.
Yes.
Oh, so many people are resigning. Oh, so many people have been laid off. It's
But
quite funny.
It's like this, and I'm always for the employees on this front. It's who is creating this kind of an environment. My kids both, let's say that as a parent, my kids have left me and then they have gone elsewhere. Who is responsible for it? Are we going to blame the kids, or are we going to blame ourselves for creating that kind of a situation? So that's what the organizations need to look into the mirror and ask this tough question as to, why is this happening? To what extent I have contributed to this kind of a situation is what organizations need to ask, the leaders need to ask themselves. It is not, it is a futile exercise to blame the youngsters that they are leaving and all. They would leave. If there is an opportunity, they would leave. If my son is working in XYZ organization, and if the situation is not really good, I would advocate my son to join some other company. Why is it not the same rule for someone else's son or daughter? So this is where I think that, it's a great time for organizations to reflect and introspect on whatever is happening on this attrition front and make certain course corrections in the way they approach human resources all the time.
Wonderful, very nice. So like Karan Johar, I have two rapid fire questions for each of you.
Okay.
Let me start with Sanjay. Will you conduct an exit interview digitally or physically? Give us the reasons as to what you would do and why.
It happens both actually, so I don't know how to answer that question, honestly. Yeah. At the geography level, yeah, it is still done digitally because the numbers are large. That's an excuse, but true. The numbers are large and therefore it's done digitally. At the center, we have the opportunity or the privilege to do it face to face. Yeah, so that's really what it is. There was another one in the chat which talked about, therefore, what is the attrition at Reliance if you have so many facilities?
That's right.
I have to read that. Yeah, you don't do the facilities for arresting attrition. You do it for good of people. Yeah. Having said that, yeah, very high attrition as far as technology people are concerned. Their opportunities are far more. Equally high the opportunities are available for frontline people who work in our sales or in our retail stores. Yeah, equal opportunities are available for them. So very high turnover there, close to 25%, etc. Yeah, that's the reality. It's about capability building that I said earlier. Yeah, so that's my quick answer.
Second rapid fire. 3 top reasons why people leave besides opportunities.
I think the world is of variety. Yeah. In a technology area, technologies, what are cutting edge, I need an exposure to that and so forth. And it's kind of missing out kind of thing. So that's the top reason. The second reason is the kind of work that you do and you're tired of it. And we find that very often in frontline people or salespeople for that matter, etc. And the third reason is it's now become the third reason, which is flexibility. Are we offering flexibility? Yeah, and that's become the third reason for attrition as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you. PV, your responses. Would you do digital exit interviews or would you do in person? And how would you show empathy digitally?
Yeah, I'm a face-to-face person mostly. I think that, that's where I would feel comfortable. But in a large organization, it's not always possible to do it face-to-face.
Yeah.
And also the way I look at it is exit interview is what? It's a postmortem. And we know that, 9 out of 10 cases, what comes out of exit interview is not the truth.
Yeah.
So I think that, when attrition is happening, instead of focusing on exit interviews, we need to take 4 steps back and understand as to, what else needs to be corrected. That's how I look at it. On your second question as to what are the 3 reasons why people leave, apart
besides Oberoi's poaching on Taj, any 3 quick?
Yeah, but associating only with me with Taj. But 3 reasons I would say that, one fundamental reason why employees leave is what is expected of me at work. Many times, people are not clear as to, how the performance is measured, how my potential is rated. People are not clear. Second is lack of career growth opportunities within the organization. People feel that's why I come to work as an individual, and I do not know, I don't see a way forward. And the third one is the broad organization culture. What's the kind of environment I'm living in? And again, I'll have to add one more point here. See, I think that at this point in time, 4 generations are working together, or if not 5. Somewhere I read that by 2025, there will be 5 generations working at the workplace. Maybe it is in the Western world where there is no retirement age. But I think that, it's the belief system of, older generation versus the younger generation. Yesterday, somebody commented on this one. When one very senior person said something like, you guys need to work hard. The lady immediately said from the Gen Z generation, she said that, I believe in working smart, not hard, but, it looks, you want me to work very hard. So this is where, there are certain unconscious belief system that are playing a thing at the workplace. I think that, that what forms the culture is what I believe in. How do we correct those things? How do we rationalize those belief systems within the organization is an important thing to do for us as HR.
Absolutely fantastic. Very, very absorbing conversation. I think from this 1-hour conversation, I could write a monograph, and so many, shall we say, home truths, whether it's Sanjay or PV, including, the need to reshuffle roles, including the need to be having an atmosphere which is less command and control, being empathic. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I would now turn it to the host and ask her to open it up for questions, please.
I thank the panel for such an involved discussion. Attrition, although a common word, but it's never easy to understand. And no matter how much you dissect it, there's always more to discover. I particularly enjoyed your last rapid fire round. Very interesting, sir. And so now I invite the questions from the audience. And while we await the questions, we do have some questions. But before we move on to the questions in the comments, I'd like to ask you, Mr. Murthy, just one thing. You mentioned that exit interviews anyway, 9 out of 10 times people don't tell you the real reason and all. So there's no point. But what is important is that you step back and then you understand the reasons why they're leaving. But is that last attempt not an attempt worth making just to understand? Maybe they tell you something worth evaluating to understand the reason why people leave.
Please don't take me wrong. I never said that, just abolish exit interview. I'm not on that point. But, I'm saying that your focus should be on something else. Most of the times employees don't really tell you the truth. And I think that, you'll have to have mechanisms within the organization where you would constantly hear the voice of the employees. That's what I meant. It's not at the time of their leaving the organization, but do we have the mechanism within the organization, whatever is the number of the people, do we have that mechanism so that, we get to know the reality from the employees is what we need to look at. Of course, in some of the exit interviews, the truth also or something could come out about the boss or about something else. That's okay. But what I meant was that, don't put too much of focus on that exit interview part. If too much of attrition is happening, go back and understand that there is something else terribly wrong. Keep hearing the voices of the people within the organization and make those corrections then and there itself.
Let me end the day from my side, and then we'll open it up for more and more questions. Till, of course, 5. What do you both gentlemen think about quiet quitting, which is more about psychological attrition? I mean, I'm wearing the clothes to my office. I come, I punch, I'm like a zombie.
Yeah.
I finish my work, I go back like a zombie. I don't care about what happens.
Yeah.
How do you diagnose this? And what do you guys recommend? You're so senior in your profession. What do you guys recommend in terms of how to stem out this rot?
Sanjay? Yeah.
Oh, sure. I know we can spot it, but what you've realized after this last 3 years is that it's been quite a transition for people to come back to work. Yeah, we've been doing it for the last 1 year. We are back at office, but you've got used to a certain lifestyle, if that's the right word to use, or a certain way of working. Again, if that's the right thing to say. It's been very difficult for people to transition. Yeah. And therefore, most of the time, we are finding people who have not been able to transition are people who are lost in a manner of speaking. Yeah. I mean, end of the day, you did perform for 3 years, remotely, and apparently things got done. So, what is this great hurry to come back to work? Yeah. Our reasons were simple because we are losing the touch. We are too large a distributed organization. As it is, we do everything digitally. If this also becomes digital, then God help kind of thing. And therefore, we wanted people to come back to work. But we're finding that as a pattern. So that's one kind. How do you spot otherwise? I don't know really. Yeah, I really don't know. I don't have an answer for it at all. कि क्या कर सकते हैं इसका पता नहीं. Don't know really.
Let me attempt this. I think that it's what we talked about. There are two things we talked about earlier. One is command and control, and second is psychological safety. When people are not feeling psychologically safe, then there is quite quitting that happens. People come to work and then mechanically, like robots, they do their work and then they go home till they find another opportunity and then move on. I think how to detect it is a great question. I think that one of the things that we need to observe when we sit in a meeting, or whether it is a what you call a workshop or a town hall, how many people is there cognitive diversity in the hall or not? What is cognitive diversity? We talk about gender diversity. Do we have different types of thinking that is present in the room, whether it is at the top management team level or mid-level or within a functional team? What is the constitution? I have seen some organizations where the entire top team consists of 8 men and 1 lady. I have never seen so far where there are more number of women in any team than men. It is all mostly consists of men. And they also would be in the same age bracket between 40 to 50 or 45 to 55 kind of a thing. So do we really have that kind of a cognitive diversity within the team? If that is not there, that is an indication that maybe there is no psychological safety in the workplace, and then that's where the quiet quitting can happen. The leadership style of command and control also suppresses the voice. People don't what's the use of telling my boss when he is not, when he is rubbishing everything that I talk about? Then people would become quiet. This is where, that leadership development, grooming the right kind of leaders is what is needed.
Thank you both.
Thank you,
Supriya.
Yes. Dr. Vigyat Verma, you have a question.
Yeah, hi.
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you, Supriya. I have this question from Mr. Sanjay Job. Extremely exciting session, no doubt. But then, I've been reading a lot of articles and they're talking, many corporates are making use of IBM Watson's AI and ML for predicting when an employee can quit or will quit. Now, we live in a world where more and more employees feel that they can leave the organization anytime they want. And on the other hand, the employers feel that they can chuck out or fire anybody anytime they want. Now, how will AI or ML will deal with this kind of mindset, which is growing stronger and stronger day after day?
I don't know whether we can. I mean, we've tried this predictive tools of people quitting, predicting how people will quit. I mean, the usual stuff we did, people coming late to work, whatever we used to do in industry earlier. Yeah, I mean, didn't work for us in all honesty. Yeah, we tried to digitize it; it didn't work. Yeah, and therefore, conversation is still the method that we use. We have a methodology for conversations. We have a methodology for recording those conversations back. And therefore, we have an analytics engine behind it, which helps us to understand the pulse, whether it predicts, to some extent it does in terms of turnover. So analytics to an extent, but not to the AI level. Yeah. But since you gave me this opportunity, let me answer the question about AI, where we have used it. Yeah. So maybe beating my own drum. Yeah, I think that's the right word. So we hire, about 200, no, about 350 people a day. So, so that's, and therefore it happens through video interviews. Yeah, because there is no other way to do it. Yeah, because it's a large number of people. And therefore, what we were not sure that somebody who was in the video was that's the person who was joining. So we have a tool now which takes the pictures at the right time, and when the person comes into which are office of ours, yeah, we fortunately have the camera systems everywhere. So as soon as he or she walks in, yeah, only if the face matching happens, the door opens, kind of thing. So it's that, yeah. All our employee queries are answered by bots. I mean, sorry, 80% of them are at least answered by bots. So that's where we use technologies like this, etc. So that's about beating my drum. So
very nice.
Thank you so much.
There's another question by Mr. Amit Khare. If he's there, I request him to come online because I am not able to understand his question. I will still read it out. It's quite interesting discussion. However, I want to understand how iteration handled in blue collar employee as it was high. Okay. So however, I want to understand how attrition is handled for blue collar employee as it was high as compared to white collar.
No, blue collar means workers and workmen, and officers and managers are white collar. So what is the question? Is it that he's making a statement that is more in these respective companies? I don't think so. It's probably more amongst the young officers and young managers and the feet on street who are voting with their feet.
I think he just wants to understand
Maybe
how
it's
the
just a
attrition
comment,
is handled for blue collar employees.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a question from Nahida. Nahida, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi. Good evening.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, hi. It was a wonderful session. And Most welcome. So on the quiet quitting part of it, I would like to make an observation that I think the first person who can actually pick this up would be the manager, right? And the important thing here is to see the touch point that the manager can offer their team. They honestly are the first people who will know when the disinterest is coming in. They may even know why the quiet quitting per se started, because if they are invested in their people, they would know if there's something that's happening personally, or there's something that's happening in the team, or maybe it's the dynamics between the manager and the person concerned themselves, right? So I think that's the first line of people who know when this is happening. They anticipate it. If they are a people's person, and if they want to retain the person, they will try to do something about it well in time. If not, chances are they will let it languish. It may go into performance issues or whatever other things. But I think AI and things like that is one thing aside. I'm talking from my experience, especially from the services sector, where there are knowledge workers, and I mean, the human touch. It's very easy for a supervisor to make out that something is off with this person, and what do they want to do about it. And no amount of I can really make any difference in that area. That's my observation. I mean, even managers are quite quitting, and even seniors quite quit, and even leadership is quite quitting. So whoever this person is working with would begin to actually know that something like that is happening.
Unless the person is completely poker-faced,
No, it's possible. It's possible. But what I have seen is that a lot of times managers may not be the best people person, but they may be the best revenue person. So, and it's again like the moment there is a trouble, just give the baby to the mother, just pass it to HR, because I can't deal with this now.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, no, I can't agree. I know that it's not a question, but I can't really stop myself to add one more comment there. What you said, I'm building on that one, Nahidaji. See, this is where, whatever might be the AI technology we use at the workplaces, emotional connect still works very, very well at the workplaces. Emotional connect doesn't always mean that, I have X number of people, can I connect with everybody personally? That's not really needed. Many times, our body language and what is organization communicating, that creates the emotional connect between the people and then the organization. So that kind of emotional connect, this is where if the manager himself is the culprit, this is where HR also. What I was referring to earlier was that, are we observing as to, what are the team dynamics here? When the manager speaks, how many other people are speaking in this room? When we sit with a finance team, let's say. So what's happening in this room? How many are speaking? What is the constitution of this team? Is there the gender diversity? Is there the cognitive diversity? How many people are really giving a pushback or giving a different viewpoint in this room when this meeting takes place? Or is it only one manager speaking about everything and everybody nodding their heads? That's what tells us that, whether there is quiet quitting or psychological safety or not. You're so very right. That's where emotional connect, I would emphasize on that one, is what is needed at the workplace.
Sure. And AI is not giving us that. Not yet.
AI is just a tool. I'm saying that, emotional connect can't be brought in by AI. I'm not any specialist in AI part of it. AI is just a tool. Human beings, we as the human beings bring the emotional touch to the table. We connect with each other, not with a machine, at least. Of course, with mobiles, we are much more connected than with human beings at this point in time. That's a different story altogether.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Great.
Supriya, time to wind up, I guess.
Yes, we are on time. And thank you very much to our panel for this discussion. You accepted the invitation. You shared so much. And I mean, there's so many takeaways from different perspectives, I'm sure today, that one has to really process what all has been discussed. But thank you very much, Mr. Sanjay Jog and Mr. Murthy. And a special thanks to Mr. Yogi Sriram not just for being the facilitator for this session, but for helping us organize this conference in the first place, and today the kind of support that you have offered. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And
Thank
before,
you, my friends.
Thank you,
Thank
Yogesh. Thank you, Supriya ji. And
Thank you, Sanjay.
thank you very much. And it's nice
And
seeing the long gap. Thank you, everyone.
Before we call it a day, I'd like to announce that the day 2, tomorrow, we have 2 very interesting sessions which are scheduled as a part of this conference. The one is related to moonlighting, where the good, bad, and the ugly will be discussed. I mean, it's for some it's unethical, and other call it a part of the time. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to the kind of viewpoints that we will have tomorrow on moonlighting. And the second session is on the challenges that the board, CEO, and the HR face while working on different stakeholder interests, and how we can avoid undesirable outcomes on talent, how we can protect the employer brand and ensure talent is not treated unfairly. So these are 2 very interesting sessions for tomorrow, and I look forward to having the audience back at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. And with this, I request our president, Mr. Rajesh Sharma, to share his concluding remarks.
Thank you, Supriya, and I thank the panel and also all the panels, for 4 panels we had today. Such a wonderful discussions. We started with a very robust kind of discussion and moved on to different discovering the new HR and the new employee mindset, and then attrition conundrum, which we are concluding with. So thank you very much for participating and being with us. We look forward to more and more engagements. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful work by Supriya.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Supriya ji.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. VP.
Ma'am, I'm ending the meeting for all.
Yes,
Thank
please. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrila. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.